Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name's Dave Burrows and I'm the director and owner of SnowPros Ski School based here in Val-d'Isere in Switzerland. Hope you're all well. Ski season's still going here in Switzerland. I hear that Italy is about to open its ski slopes to the general public. Austrians are skiing but locals only. Doesn't look like France is going to open anytime soon, but there is at least some skiing going on in the Alps, and so far the ski season, apart from all the masks and apart from all the eating outside, takeaway food only, that kind of stuff, it does feel a little bit like a relatively normal season in our little corner of the Alps, and I know that's not reflected everywhere, but that's the picture from Switzerland anyway. And it looks like now that I think that you look at whatever measure that the government is using, be it R number, be it cases, be it whatever, it doesn't look to me like they're going to shut down skiing anymore. That the government's own numbers are saying that it's this thing is almost past, and so let's hope that that's the case and that we can finish off the season with a bit of sunshine, and which we definitely haven't had actually in the month of February. February's been awful for weather here. It's just I don't feel like I've seen the sun for ages. And today was like the first sunny day, the first kind of sunglasses day that we've had for a very, very long time. This week I've got an interview with you, from Giles Lewis. Giles Lewis is based in Val-d'Isere. He's a BASI trainer and also he runs his own ski school, the Development Centre in Val-d'Isere. I first met Giles on one of the Level 4 techs that I did back in the day. And in addition to being one of the most marvellous and free bump skiers that I've ever had the pleasure to see and ski with, I also remember having a lot of really, really interesting conversations with Giles on chairlifts, and I came away from that, although I didn't get that exam at that time, I came away from that, thinking that he was a really, really good guy and a guy that I would, he sprung to mind when I was putting together my list of people to interview. So I present to you episode 32, the episode with Giles Lewis. Happy listening. In this first half, we talk about his background. We talk about, there's a story about the origins of the Eurotest in there. We talk about his own business, and we also talk about my guilty winter secret. So enjoy the first half, and I'll catch you in the middle. Welcome to the Ski Instructor Podcast, Giles Lewis. How are you?
Yeah, well, thank you. Hi, Dave. Hi, everyone.
Good. So you join us from, you gave me the name a minute ago, somewhere near Bourg-Saint-Maurice, in between there and Val-d'Isere.
Yeah, well, it's just attached to Bourg-Saint-Maurice, it's very cool to say.
Okay, terrific. And you run, well, amongst other things, so basically, the list of accolades is long, but you run TDC in Val-d'Isere, and you're a BASI trainer, and I expect there's a sort of a long and complicated history attached to how you ended up in Val-d'Isere and how you got skiing. I mean, we always start with the background. So how did you get into, did you start skiing at a young age? What's your story?
Yeah, I was lucky. My mum and dad, my dad especially, was really keen on skiing. I think they got into it in their 20s, and then they had kids and they started skiing with us. So our family holiday would be in the winter, and it would be typically to France for a week's holiday, in the Three Valleys or Val-d'Isere or somewhere like that. And that would be an annual thing, and it was great, and that's basically what we were into. I did race a little bit on plastic. I think it's 1 year up at Rossendale. Rossendale's like in North Manchester. I'm from South Manchester, and it was quite a big path to get up there. So I only did one year racing there. I didn't make the team or anything, but that was quite good for fun. And then that clashed with rugby training, which was right on the doorstep. So I trained rugby instead of going skiing. And then after university, I'd always wanted to do a season. Or I decided I wanted to do a season, and so I did. I went out to teen and worked as a show boy, really, in a hotel. I was cleaning beds and serving dinners and things like that. And it was ace. It was just so good. It was just so good that I didn't want to go back to what I perceived at the time to be the real world.
Yeah.
And so I did another season after that, and I fell in with a bunch of people who were training for what was called at the time the tested capacity. They were just good skiers, and they were training Squall, it was at the time. I fell in with them and ended up doing a few training sessions with them.
Right.
And then they started talking about this BASI thing, and anyway, that's how I ended up getting into the BASI system, and came back out to do my second season working for a ski shop, well-known ski shop in Val-d'Isere, called Precision. They gave me a job driving vans, which allowed me time to do kind of training, and then I started passing exams and was able to start working for Evolution 2, and that was that, really. And then I've never made it back to the real world. So the real world's here now.
Excellent. And at that time, I'm not trying to date you, but at that time was the BASI system, was that when it was 1, 2, 3, or had it changed over to the 4-tier system at that point?
No, it was still kind of backwards at the foundation, and then the grade 3, 2, and 1. And whilst I was in the middle of the system, it changed. That was changing all the time, actually, whilst I was in the system. So it became nameless. All the levels became nameless, didn't they? It became instructor, and then it became teacher, and then it became international ski teacher, and then it got the 1, 2, 3, 4 levels, which I think is a whole lot easier to work with, actually. And actually, I ended up going on the very first calibration event for the Euro test, what became the Euro test.
Okay,
that was quite cool, actually, because I fallen in with a group of guys, and they were doing slalom training, and I ended up doing the test technique, which is the French entry level into their system.
Yeah.
So I went and did the French test technique. That's a bit of a story, but over in Courchevel from team. This is my first season, so the end of the first season in March. I blagged myself a car, drove over there in this car, did this race, passed it, got the time, and then anyway, then the next thing to do from there is Performation, which is the first level of French system, and they couldn't get me on the course for like a year and a half, something like that. So I was like, well, that's a bit disappointing, but never mind, I'll see what these other guys are doing, which is the BASI system. So I did the foundation for the BASI system in that spring.
Yeah.
And then was thinking, well, I'll do the foundation. I'll just do the what's called the test of capacity, because once you've got your grade 3 at the time, you could then have the test of capacity and work as a stagiaire. So I thought, okay, well, I'll become a stagiaire that route, and I'll get to a stagiaire like a season earlier than waiting to do the Performation. So I had to then do the foundation and then do the grade 3. Anyway, before I could do the grade 3, I was therefore a BASI member, and BASI had this calibration event going on in Austria. It was in St. Christoph, which is near St. Anton, and they were taking over members of the British team. I remember Ross Green was on it, Mark Tilston was there, and they took a representative from every level. They took a representative from the top level, so that was Gareth Roberts, and they took somebody from the middle level, and that was a guy called Hugh Pelling, and then they took somebody from the lower level, and that was me. And I think kind of a grade 3, because I would have had my grade 3 by then, and because they'd seen that I passed the test of capacity and done okay on the foundation, I'm pretty sure I was going to pass grade 3 anyway. Then they invited me to this thing. I was like, yeah, jolly in Austria, that sounds great. So I went out for that, and the whole thing was set up as a calibration, and then they're sending down. There's only 3 non-ex racers doing it, and it's the 3 people from BASI, right? And so God knows, I think there might have been some confusion about what this event was, but so we go down, and it was good of them to let us do it, because they wouldn't let you on a calibration nowadays. Yeah. But anyway, they let us do it. BASI said, we just want to see how it matches with our kind of levels, and it was cool. I mean, they didn't accept it, actually. Like I got past time on both runs for that, and they didn't accept it. I was like, well, it doesn't matter, I'll just go do it in afterwards in a month or two, so which is what I did. Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty funny, that.
Oh, wow.
That was a good weekend.
So that was the forerunner to that calibration. Do I understand it right? That was the forerunner to when they were creating the Euro test?
Yeah. So it was run not exactly the same. I don't know how they've changed. They will have changed it a little bit, but they had the Austrian A team there, who were obviously setting the standard to then be able to calibrate all the openers.
Oh,
and,
wow.
The openers for us were people like Ross Green, Mark Justin, and then all the French classmen, so the ex-racers men who were doing it, and the Italians, plus me, Hugh, and Gareth.
So it's fair to. Oh wow! So you did the original Euro test, the very first one, or even the forerunner to it?
No, it wasn't a Euro test, because that's what I said. I then asked. I asked the TDC if I could therefore become a stagiaire, and they're like, "No, it wasn't a Euro test. It was calibration." I was like, "Okay."
Okay.
All right, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Which I did, which was cool. And then actually, the thing about the Euro test, the bad thing about the Euro test is passing it, because if you enjoy training and you kind of have a great time skiing, get better, and it's just fantastic times. And then you pass it, and you go, and you have to stop, and you find yourself on the nursery slope doing snowplow and things like that, which is rewarding in its own way.
Yeah.
You definitely stop working on your own skiing quite quickly. That's a bit of a shock.
Well, it's funny. This is why I created the podcast. Like this podcast was because of exactly that. So I popped out the top of the Swiss system, and I was like, well, I still like to learn new stuff. One CPD or whatever you call it, CP in French, every 2 years is not gonna a bit of a ski about and Zermatt is not really going to cut it for me. I'm interested in continuing to learn more about this industry that we're all in, right? And I couldn't find anything. Couldn't find anyone who was offering kind of anything other than level 4 training or Eurotest training. And I was like, well, is there nothing? Like, really? There's nothing? I would have loved to have, I don't know, done any. Look, what would it have been? I'd love to go and ski with some, I don't know, a course run by some amazing bump skiers or something. Learn something there, or something like that. Something just different and new. And I couldn't find anything, so I thought, all right, well, maybe I'm not the only person in this situation. I'll create something, and I'll hunt down all of these vastly experienced people and kind of get them on record and just have a chat with them and see what they've got to say. And every one of these, I come out and I learn something new. It's really interesting to me. It's not technical, like I'm not on snow with someone doing it, but it's, for me it's interesting.
Yeah, I can totally see that. It's a really it's disappointing to get to the end of the road, isn't it? And to think, well, I've learned so much. How can I stop learning now? And but I think that is probably, that is the case. I think I've worked really hard to find new things to learn. There's loads of stuff on the teaching side, obviously, but I think it's a bit daunting to dip into. I got my best mate in the world has left skiing full time and has gone and become a sports coaching lecturer, and he's working towards his doctorate now in Gloucester University. And what he's learning, I only get a glimpse to it, and I don't understand most of it. Is fantastic. It's really opened his eyes to stuff, and I think it's quite hard to tear yourself away from the mountains. He's had to tear himself away from the mountains. He's now a lecturer in sports coaching. And so that's an avenue that's possible, but it's not easy, and it becomes quite academic very quickly. And in terms of the language that's used and the background knowledge that's assumed, and so when Paul sends me papers that he says, you'd be interested in this, I don't have that, and so it's really hard to digest. Yeah,
I can well imagine. So is that then what led you? So you pop out the top of the BASI system. Is that what then led you into the trainer world then?
I suppose so. Certainly, that's why I've kept being a trainer for so long, because that's what it gives me. It gives me the ability to keep developing myself. It gives me interest in lots of different ways. And one of them is certainly kind of professional development and seeing what other systems might do, what the BASI system is doing, and knocking around with people who are interested in that stuff as well. It's great. But I'm lucky, you know, and to be a BASI trainer is it's a position that you have to apply for and you have to be accepted and then you have to be retained and all of that. But it's a privilege to be in that position, and there's lots of people who maybe would want to do that, and there isn't enough space for everyone to do it.
Mm.
So I appreciate I'm privileged to be in that position.
Mm. Okay.
But yeah, I love it. I mean, why did I become a BASI trainer? Probably, you know, it was a long time ago, and actually it was kind of it probably wasn't as well thought out. That it was much more. Well, I think there's this course to be a BASI trainer. Why not? I'll just go and do that. You know, I was pretty young, early 20s, mid 20s, and just going, well, yeah, if there's something else to do, I'll go and do it. So the trainer selection was one of those things. And I remember going and doing a Canadian race coaching course, a level 2 and level 3 Canadian race coaching course. You know, it was there, it was available. I had free time. Yeah, I'll go and do that. So I did my level 3 Canadian stuff, and that was really interesting. But it wasn't really as a career path or as a way to thinking, in 10 years' time I'm going to be getting so much out of this from doing this. It was more just kind of an exuberance of enthusiasm, I think, to just keep on doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, there's something for someone out there then. So whoever you are, set up CPDs for people who have run out of things, or not run out of things to learn, but have kind of, have no pathway to follow anymore, and they're still interested in learning. Whoever you are.
Yeah, it could be interesting to do kind of CPDs like that. Bumps would be amazing if you get some bump skiers in.
Yeah.
Get some bump CPD. The thing with it is getting it signed off, so you actually get the points for it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is getting people to sign up for it, because lots of people say they're interested in stuff, but then getting people to sign up for it is really hard. It's really hard. Like a couple of years ago, I pushed BASI a little bit in order to put on an EMS. So you know what EMS is? It's the top level mountain safety qualification, European mountain safety qualification.
Yeah. And
it's the same level for the British system and the Italian and the French. I don't know if it's in the Swiss or not.
They have obviously their own version, but it's apparently equivalent. So.
Okay, so when I came through the system, the EMS, or the second level of mountain safety, didn't exist, and so we got grandfathered in. So, okay, you guys come through before we needed to do it. You don't need to do it. You don't ever need to do it. Here's your qualification, etc., etc. Anyway, so this has been nagging me for a couple of years, thinking, hang on, I mean, I've got on my license, it's just written on my license, it's written without EMS on my license. I was like, that's just annoying. And everyone says how good the course is, so I badgered BASI to put on an EMS for trainers. Right. And eventually they did it, and out of all the trainers who were saying, yeah, I'll do it, it was actually a bit of a struggle to get, I think there's 4 or 5 of us on that course. It was only a few years ago. And it was great. It was really great. We went over to the Beaufort camp and did the EMS with Willie Todd, and it was cool. It was just really cool. It was quite reassuring that it wasn't kind of blowing our minds in terms of practices being totally different to what we were doing anyway, learning from experience.
Yeah.
Piece every day. Not every day, but quite a lot. But it was great to do a course and get that input. But the example there is lots of people say they're interested, and they are, and then actually committing to it and turning up, well, that's totally different. And people have got other commitments, and they're busy, and their families and everything else. It makes it really hard. So running those CPDs, like a bump CPD, loads of people be into it, but actually making it work and making it financially work, that's going to be the hard bit.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of things when you become a full cert, isn't it? Then you become busy, like you're really busy, and you're sort of then in the more in the kind of the business realm of the ski world, because you're trying to make the living that you've spent all that money on training to get there. You're making that money back and stuff, and you're right, to kind of have a sort of collective, just general, what would you call it? Almost like a training meet-up or something, like that's the kind of vibe that I was thinking. I wonder if we could just kind of, get together it doesn't matter what system you're in, where you're qualified through or anything like that, let's general meet-up, ideas swap, and how do you ski bumps? How do you ski bumps? Well, it doesn't have to be bumps. It could be anything, right? How do you ski off piste? How do you ski piste? And I suppose to a certain extent that's what interski is. but not everyone has a chance to go to interski, and that information doesn't always flow down, into the organisations and into the sort of the general membership.
Actually, loads of people, you can go to interski just as a normal delegate. You don't have to be. You need to be attached to a nation, but the Finnish always take a whole load of people. There's loads of people that are not part of the interski delegations that go and go to these workshops. So it's possible.
Oh, is that true? I thought it was a closed shop.
No, there's definitely people going that aren't on the teams.
Ah, oh, okay. I'm going to put that on my list then. Things to do. Because I'm never going to make the Swiss interski team. They've got a few useful skiers in their thing, so maybe I'll just have to go as a tourist, which is fine by me.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty amazing event. That you got to pick your stuff not carefully, but there's so much available that it's really hard to see all of it.
Yeah.
So you go there, you don't come away with an idea of what everyone's doing. You get an idea of what some people are doing, and you probably take your prejudices with you, and with those prejudices, that's what you choose who to go and see.
Yeah.
And there'll be some interesting stuff that you just don't even know is going on.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Right, I'm going to put that on my to-do list for something. So you arrived. So you came to Teen. You did your thing, and you stayed there ever since. You haven't been kind of anywhere else around the Alps. You've fallen in love with the Tarentaise Valley.
I went over I moved over to Val-d'Isere and started working for Evolution 2 in Val-d'Isere. And then I became full cert, and actually a couple of my best mates then went over to Courchevel and started working over there for New Generation.
Okay.
And so once I'd become full cert, I did a season with New Generation in Courchevel in 16-15, which was great. But I didn't enjoy the skiing as much. I didn't enjoy the village as much, and so I did a season over there and came back to Val-d'Isere. Okay. And when we came back to Val-d'Isere, that's when the four of us set up the development centre for TDC ski, and we went from there.
Now, what prompted you guys to go out? This is a good segue into your business, so let's talk about it. What prompted you to go? The four of you to kind of do your own thing. What was the driving behind that?
It was wanting to have a bit more control, I suppose, of our day. It was wanting to have a bit more control of our type of work and how we organise our work. That was it. So, we didn't want to be doing 8 hours a day. We didn't want to be backing up lessons, one lesson after the next. And we want to be able to choose which level of work or type of work we were going to be doing. And essentially, that's it. It was about making it nice for us.
Yeah.
As instructors, so that we could, because if you work at a bigger ski school and you want to put the hours in, you really can, and you can knock out. I remember I knocked out over 800 hours after one season. But I suppose it's a realisation that you can't do that, and just kind of stay physically and mentally healthy, I think.
Well, that's for sure. It's funny,
I can't.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think anyone can. I know guys that do it year in, year out, but then they live on the beach the rest of the time. But we'll get onto this later. I think there's a bigger picture, isn't there, about kind of why we're all here and out here in this environment. And today and yesterday, it's probably the first 2 days I've had off since I can remember, and I don't want to do that all the time. I'm doing it this season because this season's a weird season, but I'm trying to be a bit like what you're saying, is that I want to pick and choose the lessons that I do, without kind of getting into that kind of relentless, just bashing out the hours, because I think it jades you a little bit for what skiing is, and you can you very quickly lose the love of why you're here. Yeah,
and so I guess if I talk you through the kind of things that we did, we said, well, we're only going to do 2 sessions a day. One's going to be in the morning, one's going to be in the afternoon. So what that means is that we get a lunch break, so we're fresh in the afternoon. So actually, it's good for us, but it's good for our clients as well.
Yeah.
We're always going to be on time because there's no excuse for being late. Whereas if you're backing up lessons, you're either early or late. You're hard to hit on time.
Yeah.
And so the client gets a better experience too. So that's kind of why we did it.
So talk me through that just from the logistics. So you do what, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon at most?
That's our typical stuff. Over the years then we've worked on other stuff. So for example, off-piste stuff now. 3 hours is a little tight for some of the stuff that some of the instructors want to be doing, and some of the clients want to be doing. So actually, it's possible to stretch that to a 4 hour morning.
Okay.
And then a 3 hour afternoon, and so then the instructor only gets a half hour lunch break, which is okay. They've got to be aware of that. So that's now possible that we do that. But yeah, our kind of standard stuff is still 3 and 3.
Okay.
It works pretty well. It means you can't do that many hours, which sometimes is a bit of a problem. If instructors are really wanting to do loads and loads of hours, well, okay, standard hours for us is 6 hours a day. Yeah,
but if you really want to get through the hours, there's other places you can work, right? Like, that's if the organisation that you're working for supports that, then you go for it by all means. But like you say, I'm kind of with the ski school here. What I'm trying to do really is focus more on, I'd say, like the quality rather than delivering just like volume. I don't want to be. I don't want to be a sausage machine.
Exactly, and actually, I think there are people out there who can deliver that quality and back it up, back to back, day after day after day. But I think they're rare. I think most people get tired. Most people need a little bit of a break. Most people need to have. We try and encourage people to have a day off as well, and that's about having quality of life for the instructor, but also quality of products for the client. It's really important.
When we're in the final part of the Swiss instructor system, you in the same way as the British, or maybe all the systems have this, but you have to do a sort of dissertation, and I did mine on fatigue in ski instructors throughout a season, and the effects on the body of kind of relentlessly skiing at altitude, hour after hour after hour, days after days after days, no breaks, that kind of stuff, and it's interesting to see all the evidence that's out there of what happens to us, by doing that work relentlessly. And a lot of my recommendations in that report were, that people need to have a day off, people need to kind of, look after themselves in terms of their nutrition, in terms of their sleep, that kind of stuff. All the things that kind of, I don't want to generalise, but all the things that, like your sort of young raw instructor would want to do. You want to party every night, wouldn't feed himself very well, try and do loads of hours, and eventually something's got to give, right? There's that old saying in ski resorts, you can work, you can party, and what was the other one? I can't remember, but you can't have all three. Something has to give. Yeah, exactly, and something's got to give. So it's for me, I'm not following my own advice this season, and I'm suffering accordingly. Back hurts, tired, irritable, that kind of stuff, and it's you can notice that the younger guys can do it a little bit more. They've got a bit more natural energy, but I can see even there at the moment those guys are a little bit tired, and it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. It's difficult to manage that balance, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it's true. Well, send me through that. What you wrote, I'd be interested to read it.
Yeah, I'll dig it out. It's in French, but I think you're bilingual, so I'll dig it out and send it over.
I've been working on my French reading. I've been reading novels this summer in French.
Oh wow! I haven't quite gone there. Do you know what I'm really into at the moment? It's terrible. It's like a real guilty secret. So I'm now into novel number 15. I've never read fiction before, ever. I only read factual stuff. But now I'm on book 15 of the Jack Reacher series of trashy airport novels, and I just can't put them down. Like, I don't know, like as soon as I finish one, I'm like, bang, straight into the next one. Like, it's really, really bad. So that's my,
How How many are there?
There's like 28. It's it, yeah. But yeah, so that's there you go. That's my confession for this this podcast.
I absolve you.
Thank you. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Giles. I very much enjoyed making it, and he's a lovely guy to talk to. I wanted to thank everybody who's listening to this this podcast. We've just gone past, or this episode will take us past 45,000 downloads of this podcast, which is pretty amazing for something I just started for my own amusement. Whoever you are, wherever you are, thank you very much for downloading it. I'm humbled that you're interested in hearing, my ramblings and the chat from my guests, but it's really the guests that make it what it is. Had some further correspondence this week, which I'm going to read out to you. This one is from Ian Martin. Now, Ian Martin, if you don't know him, he runs another podcast called The Ski Podcast, which is slightly more kind of tourist skier focused. It's not specialised as this one. But Ian got in touch, especially in relation to Toby's episode about Verbier, and he said it was, quote, "It was outrageous the way that the newspapers around the world, particularly in the UK, reported the great escape from Verbier. Ridiculous stories such as this bring an industry that's already on its knees into disrepute thanks to their lies. It's tough enough for the UK ski industry as it is, with the lockdown in place until the end of February at the earliest." That looks like it's going to extend also. That's my commentary on there. He continues, "The best we can hope for as it stands is now perhaps the inverse of last season, when we get to ski late March and April and not at all before. Fingers crossed for a better result than that, but I'm not optimistic." So thanks, Ian. I really appreciate you getting in touch with that commentary. Yeah, I agree with you about the whole Verbier thing, and the press in particular, and some elements of the ski press also. I think are really, how do you say, that they're really dishonest when they report certain things. They're always looking for the kind of sensational angle, I suppose. No one reports good news anymore, and it's just another reason why people just don't, are tuning out in massive numbers out of mainstream media, and that seems to be my experience, and I've more or less turned off reading any kind of mainstream media, and my life is much better as a result. So there you go. Back to Giles's interview. Part 2 is where the real kind of magic comes in for this episode. So I mentioned to you earlier, he's one of the best bump skiers that I've ever seen live. Guy skiing with real freedom and creativity in bumps, and we have quite an extensive chat in this part 2 about that. So that's the real kind of golden nuggets in this particular episode. We also touch on working in Val and also his involvement with the local rugby club, and yeah. So enjoy this this second half. I'm going to put in the right at the end. You'll hear that Giles mentioned something about him being featured in the latest BASI for moguls videos, or levels videos. So I'll include a clip. I'll include the link to those in the podcast notes. So enjoy the second half, and I will catch you on the next episode. So we met on one of my failed BASI Level 4 exam attempts, and it's funny, I don't know how this is like cosmic timing, or Facebook is listening to me, one of the two, but I'm looking at a picture on my screen here of a pair of skis that I trashed on that exam. No, I came back. So this is the thing. I had this pair of Dina Star skis that I really liked, and we were skiing some, I'm going to say, variable terrain. I hit a rock and absolutely finished this pair of skis. Like, they were, gone. And I really like those skis, and I skied well on them. And the only backup pair that I brought was this kind of horrible pair of like head GS skis I didn't really like at all. Anyway, didn't work out for me. I skied pretty well that week, but it wasn't enough. And but that's how we met. And I remember having many interesting kind of lift rides and chatting with you and stuff like that. But the thing that kind of stood out the most for me, well, apart from those kind of philosophical chairlift chats, was the bump skiing that you put on show for that week. And how can I get, what I'm saying is that probably it was a display of some of the best bump skiing that I've ever seen in my life, and it was a certain sort of mastery over the bumps that you had that was really, really interesting to me, because it looked like it wasn't the kind of the standard crashing down a zip line stuff that BASI's famous for. It was more like it looked more to me like a guy who had kind of mastery over his time and movements in that place. And what I wanted to ask you was more about that in general. Like, you skied, I'm guessing, quite a lot of bumps when you were younger.
Well, thanks, Dave. I'm blushing.
well, you should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I skied quite a lot of bumps when I was younger, I suppose. On those family ski holidays, we always used to ski the bumps. It was what you did, wasn't it? It was, you ski the piste a little bit. The off-piste really wasn't what it is now in terms of marketing and in terms of accessibility and all that stuff. And that's that's mostly down to equipment. I think, the wider skis means we can access stuff off the side of the piste a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And then when I did my first season, there was this bunch of people who were training slalom gates, and then all the kind of I don't want to use the word ski bumps. So I'm going to call them long-term seasonaires, which is what they are. They're people that have decided to stay there for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, amazing
skiers, and they'd go and ski bumps. And so there was this whole cultural thing of skiing bumps, which really doesn't exist anymore. It's kind of held on to by a bunch of old people like me. But there's a load of people in Val-d'Isere that were into bump skiing. I never really hung out with them to ski bumps, but you kind of saw them doing it. Alex Pape and Graham would be two people that were out there the whole time just doing it. And that kind of fits into the Bostic Boss and events like that. I know Zermatt's got a pretty big bump scene still. It's kind of hanging on, and it's all nostalgic nowadays. But back in the days, it was kind of nostalgic, but it was still pretty serious. People doing that. So I don't know. Yeah, it was part of the culture. That's what you did. I never kind of set out hard to ski bumps and train bumps. But with skinny skis, that's what you did. Go and ski bumps, and when you're young and elastic, and reasonably athletic, you can do it, and it's just it's cool. It's really cool. I think, and especially I've had there's some amazing bump skiing on level 4s, and especially in Val-d'Isere where we've got S bumps.
Yeah,
the S bumps is like a kilometre of bumps on a reasonably steep gradient, 35 degrees probably, and it funnels into this gully. And when they've got soft snow on them and they're nice and friendly, it's just amazing. You can kind of do. You only need to do one run in there, and you've got more bumps practice in there than you'd get on 5 runs on most pitches of bumps.
Is that where we were going on that exam? I'm a bit ignorant of Val-d'Isere skiing, but there was a big steep piece that we used for a lot of long turns, and then there was a kind of big thing off the left that had loads of bumps in there. I mean, it was just like you say, it's proper paradise. And a really, really long run with like no way out either. Like once you're in, you're in.
You're in, and that's it.
Yeah.
And actually, one thing with that course, running that course on that lift, we can use the piece there to do our longs and our shorts, and then we can use the same lift to go around and do bumps, and that's a big part of the course content is that.
Yeah.
And it's just exhausting because the lift is so quick.
Yeah.
That we can get around, and we just there's a real danger of smashing people physically, kind of before the end of the week.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that we need to keep an eye on, and probably sometimes we do it better than other times.
Yeah, I'm with you. One of the things I think, because I never, as I was coming up through the various systems, like was that I always found bumps really difficult. You know, I'm not very you've met me, I'm not very elastic. I'm kind of a big long block, and I don't I could never see it, you know, but as I got more, and as I spent more and more time in bumps, like actively seeking them out and going and skiing them, you start to see the lines, right? That's the first thing, I think, is once you see the lines and the different ways of skiing them, I think that's kind of part one. And then maybe part two is kind of, right, okay, I see the lines, but now there's certain movements that I need to be able to make, and I need to appreciate that it's probably a little bit backwards compared to regular piste skiing, you know, like you're compressing where you would normally extend, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. And then after that, there's like a level, like a third level where you reach, and I'm not anywhere near, you know, maybe there's a fourth level, you'll tell me that you know, is where you're operating in, but you start to be able to play with it, and then you start to appreciate that there's the kind of, I don't know, the way that I describe it sometimes to clients is like it's a little bit like, how would I say, like free-form kind of jazz, right? So it's not like, come on, get your thoughts in order. It's not like a sort of relentless dance music track like you would compare, say, short turns to, right? Where it's just constant. In moguls, it's a bit more free form. So you might make, you know, if you're talking about sounds, like you might make some sounds that are quite quick, and then you might make some long sounds, and then you might make, you know, it might change again. Yeah. And it's just a bit more kind of open, you know, and I find I've really started, it's the thing that I like to do the most now, and if I'd have said that to you 10 years ago, like I would be lying, absolutely, but it's the thing that I seek out now more than anything. It's like, oh, there's some nice bumps over there, let's go and see them, let's go and play in there. Right. It's so nice, like it's really a funny thing. How do you think of them when you're in them?
Well, when I'm in them, I don't particularly try and pick a line very far ahead of myself. You know, it'd be one bump, two bumps maybe. I'm certainly not trying to plan very far, and I think that's part of it. I like the way you structured how you kind of get yourself into the bumps and how you see it, and you go through those stages. And certainly, you see people who are trying to make the same movement, the same thing on every single bump, and that's really only possible in a manufactured bump line, you know, or a rut line. Yeah. And for me, they're much less interesting than an open set of bumps. You know, even if the open set of bumps are huge, you know, there's still some variety of line that you can achieve in that. And when I ski the bumps, I just the bumps have got to be nice, right? So if they're huge, they've got to be soft. If the spacing's got to be quite good, I suppose. But I think the thing that I think when I'm skiing a bumps run, for me, when I'm not trying to demo something, it just doesn't matter. I can pretty much take on any line that's there, and if the line isn't there and I mess it up, I'll probably get away with that as well. So that's probably a big confidence thing, I think, for my bump skiing. I'm just not scared of any kind of consequence, I suppose. I'm not talking about being stupid and trying to go too fast, but I'm just not scared of making a mistake, because I can just bail myself out one way or another. Just use a whole load of grunt, or I'll put a jump in or something like that. And that gets me out of trouble all the time, and it means I don't have to worry about where my line's going, because I'll just find myself somewhere and be able to deal with it. And I think that's quite a long way down the line in terms of how you can't start off there. You have to start off somewhere else. And you have to start off looking at, okay, how's this bump formed? What are the possible movements? Where can I make a turn? Where can I control my speed? And doing that in an open bumps field is a slow process because they change so much. So it's almost better to be starting off in a bumps field that is much more uniform, and you can maybe ski the inside line and you turn on the col every time, then inside line and inside line. Try and do that as much as you can. And then another set of bumps where you can ski an outside line all the way around. And then another set of bumps where, I don't know, maybe you go on the top or you come onto the ridge or something like that. But it's the combination of these tactical choices and then having the technique to match to them. And within kind of one bump, you can make 3 or 4 of those different lines just on one single bump. And then you've got to link that together all the way down for however many turns, 50 turns or something, or 50 bumps. That's what makes it such a challenge to learn, but such a joy to do, I suppose, is that you don't really know what you're going to need even in the next half a second, because it depends how you manage to execute the one that you're on, and there's always going to be a bit of a surprise.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No. I mean, I think anything that we add to this, because I think it's so interesting to have this technical conversation. Because there's not many people, like you say, there's not many people. I wouldn't say do it anymore, but there's not. Like it's quite an old school thing. Bumps are disappearing everywhere. The two things that I wanted that came out of that, which I thought was quite interesting. One of the things that really helped me to kind of really appreciate the movements, and this might be useful. You never know, to someone who's struggling with bumps or something. During their ski instructors exams, one of the things that I found was somewhere in Saas-Fee, down the bottom of one of the fist piece on the left, someone had made like a fairly shallow zip line, not too intimidating, and you've got to seek these things out, right? You've got to see them and kind of jump in them and see. But that, I must have gone around that 10 times, to really try and really understand the movement on a fairly narrow slope, and to see where the opportunities were to take speed off, where you could put a check in, or where you could hit the face of a bump or something like that. I also did that, and then I took myself to a snow dome. Someone was running a bumps course there. I think it was Andy from Warren Smith. I've forgotten his surname. And did an indoor one there. So it was completely manufactured bumps. Again, same thing, like not open field bumps, more like here's a line, try to stay in it, and then just get the movement pattern right. That was one of the things that really, really helped me in my development towards kind of learning to love it. And then the other thing that I've really noticed, I think, and you mentioned it earlier when you were talking about skiing a big field of bumps, is that each bumps field, or set of bumps, it can even be more broken down than that, but each field has its own, almost like a speed limit, where the bumps come in a manageable way. So if you try to ski them too fast, it doesn't match with what the bumps are giving you. This sounds like I sound like such a hippie here, but what do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to tune in to what the speed is for that given place. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think on any bumps field, whether it could be speed, but it could be line. So, like you say about training bumps, go and find a really uniform set of bumps. They can be manufactured actually, but really decently spaced, or kind of half-sized bumps in an open field, and then practice a particular line, whether that's the inside line, whether that's a rounded outside line, whether that's going over the top, whether that's smashing through the soft, whether it's having a check on the top or a check on the ridge. You can kind of force that onto an intermediate set of bumps, and then you take those. It's movements, but it's skills as well. It's the edging skills, it's everything else. It's the timing of all of those movements are really important. And if you can practice those enough, so you've got those 4 or 5 approaches, then you can go to a slightly bigger set of bumps, if you like. And those bigger set of bumps is not just the speed that there's going to be a speed where it's easy to see those bumps, and then there's going to be a speed which is making it harder. But it's also matching those lines to the open bumps. So in an open set of bumps, there's going to be a bump where actually you can't do a rounded line on it. it's really hard to do a rounded line. So don't bother. This one's set up to go straight and have a really late check into the face of the bump. Do that. Then this next one, you've got these big smiley bumps, coming all the way across 4 meters across these kind of set up actually in couloirs, and you set up kind of a big smiley bump, and that's just like your perfect rounded line. And you're causing yourself a disservice, or you're making stuff harder for yourself if you don't try and match your turn to what the bump's showing you is the easiest thing to do. So you're right, there's these two things to do, is to have the ability to ski them, have the ability to ski all these different lines, and then be able to read the bumps coming up to you and go, okay, this type of turn, this type of speed control method is going to be easier on this particular bump than another one. Doesn't mean the other one's not possible, but it's just that this is how it's set up, and that's about reading the bumps. But it's not necessarily, like I was saying earlier on, it's not necessarily, it's really rare to be able to read a set of bumps all the way down, because you end up just getting lost and not being where you thought you were going to be, and that can be a distraction. Where you set off and you do the first couple of bumps and actually they're way further than you thought, and so you're thinking that you're going to be able to do, smash into the face of them and get some speed control from that. It's just not going to happen. So you've got to change and use something else to control your speed, whether that's the rounded line, or whether that's kind of a bit of sneaky skid or a bit of inside line.
Okay. Those bumps that you have in Val-d'Isere, do they have we've got the Swiss wall here, right? Not very far from me, the Chavanette. And what that often has, because so many tourists ski it, is that you might get 3, 4, 5, 6 nice moguls in a way in a line, or a sort of something that you can work with, and all of a sudden there's like a big sort of what would you call, like a ridge where everyone's kind of bailed out and just put a huge horizontal line across the piece. You're like, well, where does this come from? Really, really strange. But you get that on the slightly steeper ones, or certainly do on the wall, because people are just kind of, there's a lot of traversing goes on the wall rather than full line skiing. It becomes better lower down, but the wall at the kind of the higher part of it is full of big traverses in it.
Do we get that in Val-d'Isere?
Yeah, I was going to say in the bumps field you like to ski, do you get that sort of big horizontal line across, or are they kind of left alone?
Not really, because not really, because I mean people come down that run and other runs, and they know it's a bumps field. It looks like a bumps field from the top, and they kind of give it a wide berth if they don't really want to ski it. It doesn't get skied really. It bumps up pretty slowly. The S. I mean, there's other bumps runs as well around some stuff in Fournay as well, but we never get kind of one line that bails out. And that S run that we get, it gets funneled into the valley at the bottom, and so they tend to get bigger at the bottom, so they can start off quite nice at the top. Yeah, and then they get into the bit in the forest, and it's so tight. Those get kind of double in size.
Yeah, I do remember some of those troughs are pretty big for those enormous GS skis that I was skiing. So fair enough. Cool.
And then it goes into a position where instead of having a choice of line, there really isn't a choice of line. There's only one line that's going to work on that bump, because it's the side of the house.
Yes.
And it's got really steep sides to it, so there's only really one option for it. And unless you can work that option, that particular tactics, unless you've got that technical skill, you're not going to be able to make your run float through that section.
Yeah. Well, I do remember that being the case when we were there, and kind of we that middle section was kind of so extreme at that point that that was taken out of the assessment. It's like, oh no, we'll assess you on the top because the bumps there are kind of proper bumps, but in the middle section it was just a case of get through it as best you can, and then we'll have another look down the bottom section.
And I think we try and be fair. I'm not. I've run a lot of level 4s. I'm not running. I don't think I'm running any this year. But it's about making sure that it is fair, making sure that it's a challenge, but it's not supposed to be an impossible challenge. It's supposed to be, and it's not supposed to be. You kind of alluded to this earlier on, kind of a BASI style of slapping your way down a bumps field, just kind of slamming with your heels.
Yeah,
that's a way of skiing them on a very direct line. It's really, really physical. But I don't know. For me, that's not. It is skillful to do that, but it's also skillful to be able to do other stuff. And we need to show and encourage people to have skillful bump skiing, not just powerful bump skiing.
Yeah. No, I see that, because
fast. It doesn't have to be that fast, you know. If you can make stuff really smooth, and you can make stuff really, really nice, you know, it doesn't need to be super quick. And if you're going to go really quickly, there's going to be a few more mistakes in there. And I think it's having understanding of bumps and appreciation, love of them, even makes it easier to assess something like that.
Yeah. No, I remember someone said to me once, if you can ski a mogul field, and that really helps with the understanding, actually. Like, so you get in somewhere and ski it slow as you can almost, and then you really get the time for your brain to process the lines and you know, where you know, directional decision choices, that kind of thing. That really helps too. In like the development of the appreciation of being in a mogul field, you know. What that leads us on sort of nicely then to, you know, Val-d'Isere and the terrain, because I've seen you kind of posting about this a few times on social media, and just remember talking about it. But you really love the terrain there, and I see you in all sorts of kind of weird and wonderful places in the backcountry. Is that sort of the direction that you're heading these days? You want to get out and away from it all?
No, not really. You know, well, especially, I mean, this season I'm pretty scared. This season, the snowpack's really unstable.
Yeah, it sure is.
You know, you've got to walk to get anywhere. The rescue services is pretty limited at the moment. You know, so certainly this year I'm not really wanting to go anywhere very far. And on a normal season, I don't know. It's just part of what I enjoy about skiing, I suppose. It is that part of it. But I don't want to kind of commit myself to anything. You know, I think I love the piste skiing. I just love piste skiing. I think it's amazing. I think pulling calf turns on really firm piste, not icy, just firm.
Yeah.
Not icy, just firm. You know, bump skiing, all that. I love the whole spread of it. And yeah, there's people do way more backcountry than me. There's people go and find some way more impressive places than I go to. But I do enjoy going and doing that. And I really enjoy kind of finding new places every year, even within Val-d'Isere that I've been in for 20 years. I can still go to a place that I've not been to before and ski a slightly different line there, or a totally new area, which is what I've done over the past couple of years. And it's just so vast. And that's just the Val-d'Isere area that's pretty much within the lift access. You know, if you start walking for a few hours, you can get to loads of places that I've not been to. But no, I'm not kind of ready to turn into just somebody who's seeking the backcountry stuff yet, and leave the technical stuff behind, because I still love all the technical stuff. You know, I think that's amazing too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay polyvalent.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long I can manage it.
Well, the scale of that area is just enormous. I mean, that's one of the things that really struck me. I've been over there a couple of times in the last 2 or 3 years, like heading over in the summer, actually on the bike over to Italy, and I've gone over the the Col d'Isere, and just like when you get to the top of there, and you look around, it's just vast like terrain, and as far as the eye can see, you know, it's just wild country. It's absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. But, you know, people are out there going and getting to all the corners of it. You know, some mountain guys out here have taken people over that. But you know, I like doing off piste. I like, you know, taking clients off piste and ski touring with clients as well. But you know, I'm certainly not trying to go down the extreme route. You know, it's not really my thing. To take people into extreme areas. You know, you build up a bit of trust with a particular person that you ski with quite a few times, and you'll slowly develop that. But yeah, I don't want to be skiing off piste every day. I don't mind skiing off piste. Probably on a normal season, I'd probably be skiing I don't know, a third to a half of my season would be off piste. And then there'll be a fraction of that, which is the really hard charging or the very technical, steeper stuff.
Is that what is your clientele that comes to you? What are they looking for? Are you doing a bit of everything, or have you got a reputation for performance and background?
Well, at the development centre, we try and I think we've got a reputation. We certainly try and do technical stuff where people help people to get better at skiing, not just take them to special places or find them the best snow, but actually help them to enjoy it a little bit more if they're doing the off-piste stuff. And on the piste stuff, we got a really good background in teaching people who can already ski to get better. So that they're not a beginner, but actually ski lessons can still be really enjoyable and improve your holiday by a mile by getting ski lessons. And that's where we started off. Actually, we're starting off with the kind of intermediates and trying to take these intermediates off their plateau and get them to enjoy the kind of the amazing feelings that you can get. Once you can carve a one ski, for example, something like that. It's not about carving, but being able to do that, being able to come down a steep black run and actually not just skid it out and be scared, but actually feel control, be able to use the shape of the turn to control your speed, etc., etc. And so that's what we do a lot of. That's our kind of bread and butter. The intermediate skiers who want to get better, and that kind of chimes with our market, which has always been an English-speaking market, dominated by British people, who really do want to get better. Even good skiers want to keep on getting better. And then you get some people in there who want to get better and they want to go and do the off-piste bit, and so we do that. We do that bit as well. But and there's some people, members of the team now, who are much more into the backcountry than I am. If I say that, I'll do it 50% of my time. Some of the other guys would be very happy to do it all the time, 80% of the time.
Yeah. Is there, amongst the skiers that come as tourists, the sort of general piste skiers and stuff like that, is there certain sort of commonalities that you see sort of time and again? I mean, the reason I asked this because I went through a phase. I went through like a week about 3 weeks ago where I was just taught the same lesson over and over and over again. It was like, oh my god!
Which one was it?
It was I can't remember right now, but it was probably to do with steering the skis properly. like finishing the turn off, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of heel skidding. And I'm just like, oh my god! And it wasn't. They weren't continuations of stuff I'd done before. It was just like every day presented with the same thing. I'm like, I just saw this yesterday. Just like a real run of things like that. It was really, really funny. But I got to the end of that week and I was like, oh my god, I don't think I've taught anything else.
That happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You get into a run of stuff, and you just happen to do that. But you know that's going to change, and you're going to end up with a beginner, and you'll be doing something totally different, and that's the kind of joy of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to have the variety in what I teach. I don't spend very many days on the nursery slope. I spend maybe 2 or 3 days on a nursery slope every season. Mm-hmm. Some I might even miss it out altogether, but it's not deliberately. It's just how the work comes in and how it gets allocated. But I love it. I always love it. First day beginner or second day beginner. Like, wow, this is cool. This is really and they get better so quickly.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. But to do that every day and to have a new set of beginners every day or every week, that's kind of why we set up independently, so we can choose the level at which we take people on. So we do take beginners, but we take them on as privates. We don't set up group classes for that, because if you set that up, it's pretty easy to fill yourself up with that, and then that's all you ever do, and you don't get the variety, and you kind of can lose the joy for it. I've still got the joy for beginners. I just love it. They're so funny. They're so funny, and they get better.
It's like,
I love it.
There's often nothing I love better than just pootling around on the beginner slope. It's
it's amazing.
But some
again on the speciality, like the magic carpets have become so popular nowadays. That getting on your first lift used to be a drag lift, didn't it? It used to be a pommel lift.
Yeah.
And actually that could be.
That's right.
Now with the magic carpets, actually your first lift is probably on day one.
Yeah.
Whereas lift might have been on day 3, and before that you're walking uphill.
Yeah.
Sidestepping uphill. So people are missing out on sidestepping skills. That's a problem, but we can deal with that. But yeah, that first lift is now that, and so now the first big lift is often a chairlift, isn't it? Well, I suppose it might be a bubble. It might be a bubble if you.
In some places, I hear that. Yeah, it's the demise of the bubble lift this season is resorts have been rushing to put in bubble lifts, obviously, capacity and all that sort of stuff, and this year no one wants to go in one. We work a lot in a little village called Morgin. And Morgin's served by this sort of 3-person lift. It was installed in like 1975, and it's never been so popular, because everyone wants to be in the fresh air. And other places, Villars, for example, where we go often, is served. You can only get to the ski area by train or bubble lift, and it's just everyone's paranoid about it this season. It's really funny how that's turned. Everyone's kind of disappearing to the little resorts with little chairlifts and drag lifts and stuff like that. It's very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. Anyway, we said we weren't going to try and talk about flipping COVID. So yeah. So with out away from skiing, because this was kind of a lot of I think the idea is you chat about anything else other than skiing on the chairlift. But you're still, I don't know whether you still play, because this was at least 5 years ago, but you're still involved in playing and coaching rugby there?
Yeah, both, yeah. Just about hanging on. My body's kind of falling apart in the ankle areas at the moment. My ankles are really sore, and I don't know why, but that's a really boring avenue to go down. But yeah, I mean, we're not able to play at the moment, but I have been playing with the local team. So I play with the adults, and that's my kind of that's my social life. I just love that.
Yeah.
And then I coach the kids, and we're such a small club, and the coaches, we've got loads of coaches, but we're not always all available. So I do coach the 10s and the 12s and the 14s, not, with lots of help, but we mix around, and that's cool. Yeah, it's really good. It gets me out in the community. Gets me to meet the kids. My boy, he plays just about for the under 14s. And I say just about because he's a skier.
Oh, okay.
He's a ski club,
right?
And so when it comes to the winter time, the rugby club loses we lose a good chunk of our players to the ski club. So on a Saturday morning, they can't make it because they're skiing. Yeah. And so the rugby club goes really small. And what happens with my lads' age group, that happened to them. They kind of got cut in half. But actually, there was a big group of them. There's like 15 of them. Mm-hmm. It's a shame that they couldn't keep playing together. So we've put that on now on a weekday evening. So the under 14s can now train, and a couple of them now play for Chambéry.
Oh wow! Okay.
But they still train with us on a Tuesday night, because Chambéry's an hour and a half away. So they train with us on a Tuesday night, and then if they've got a tournament, they'll probably go and train with Chambéry on a Friday night and play with Chambéry on a Saturday. Yeah. But they'll still train together. So we've still got a group of kind of 13, 14. Under 14s and under 16s who play together on a Tuesday night. Wow. And that's going to make the link, I hope, into the adult section, so that once they get to the under 18s age group, they're going to be too big to play with the under 14s, because a couple of under 12s come along to that as well. Yeah. And so then they can come and join the adult section and play the touch and stuff that we play there. So it's trying to kind of link these things together and keep it going, because it's really hard to keep the rugby going.
Yeah,
we've got a foot of snow at 900 metres this year. It doesn't always happen, but it does really make it hard.
Does the I'm largely ignorant of this, but in France, rugby is a winter game, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Right.
The season is pretty much the same as the football season. I know you're into football coaching and
yeah.
And it matches the football season.
Okay. Do they have a winter break though, presumably, as well? Like they do here?
Well, we do here, but only because there's snow on the ground. They don't really. They don't really. No, they keep going. They keep going all the way through, and then it kind of stops pretty early. It stops. It kind of stops in May. So for us, the ski racing season stops kind of mid-April. That's when all the clubs really, really pack down. So then we might get our players back. Maybe the last weekend in May, middle weekend in May.
Yeah.
and that's exactly when the season stops. That's all the tournaments finish.
Yeah.
All the tournaments finish until we can't play in any tournaments. But that's just how it is. We've always got.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. And I've actually done I've done a brevet fédéral in rugby coaching now. So I've got.
Wow.
It's a non-professional qualification. It's just it's a ticket to say that I'm vaguely competent.
I'd say probably slightly more than vaguely. Yeah.
Vaguely competent. That was quite interesting as well. I mean, that was all messed up because it's been over the past few years, but that was interesting. Quite progressive. It's good to see that it's really progressive in terms of their coach education in France. Certainly, it's not about going out there and smashing people. It's not about just trying harder, and it's definitely not about getting knocked and picking yourself up and throwing yourself back into the next thing. It is about their welfare and protecting kids, and actually just the joy of finding space and playing a team sport.
Yeah, that's
kind of having a puzzle, which is what the rugby rules are. Having a puzzle that you've got to solve in order to move the ball over the line. Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's interesting. From what my vague sort of knowledge of French rugby, I thought it was just all about kind of guys from the south, big brawlers and bruisers, and you got smashed up every time you played. But I don't know if maybe that's changed. Well, I think there's kind of a legend, isn't there? The legend of sports as well, and I don't think you want to have that kind of legend die.
Yeah,
but I think that's pretty rare. It still happens. It still happens. We went on rugby tour to Malvern actually a couple of years ago with the adult section.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing time. Just the bonding that we had as a group going over there. Yeah. And the time in the clubhouse after the match was just as much fun as the match itself, and it was pretty old school. But that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare.
How does rugby culture in France translate to what you knew it to be in the UK when you were growing up? Like, is it universal, or is it a different? I don't know. Like,
I think it is. I think it is. I think there's something. You have a rugby player. Somebody else is a rugby player, and you kind of understand that they're what they've gone through, what kind of training they've gone through, that they probably don't mind picking up the odd knock, or they'll be there for you. And it's just like anybody that plays in a team sport. But that's kind of knowing somebody who plays rugby. There's a certain amount of respect, I think, given to somebody instantly. But once you play with people, once you actually step on a pitch and you have a match, it doesn't really matter what level that match is at. After that, there's a bond between however many people are there. 17 in our case, because we haven't got enough players to get the full 23.
Yeah.
But 17 people that have been out on the pitch and played together and backed each other up. After your first match with them, that's when I found that you really start to bond properly. If you just turn up to training and you play touch or whatever, that's great. You can meet people, play a few matches with them, and you get quite tight.
Yeah. I had a similar experience. So I used to play football with the local Châtel football team when I lived there for a while, and it was similar. That they were, and essentially it was the ESF team more or less, and it was aggressively francophone. No English spoken here. Even if another player on the team was English, you had to speak to him in French, and that was fair, and a lot of the time we didn't understand a word that was going on in the changing room because they were speaking their local kind of French dialect. I have no idea what was going on most of the time.
And the other thing about showers is it just echoes around the shower. In the shower room, the acoustics in the shower
no idea what's going on.
It's got to be the worst thing to try and pick up the French language.
Oh my God!
Have it echoing around.
Yeah. But what it does do, in exactly the same kind of as what you were saying, when you're there and you're running around and you're fighting for your mates and you kind of, you're doing good things and just doing the best you can. Like they see that, right? And they see that, okay, this is, this guy might be English, but he's here and he's playing for our team, and that I think, I don't know, it made me a lot of good friends over in that valley, and to this day, even though I don't live over there anymore, it's an important and a good way of kind of, integrating, I think, with a a small community where you might be an outsider. It's a really good way in, I find.
Yeah, it is. And actually, I mean, there's a few kind of genuine Savoyards in our rugby team, but a lot of people are from outside of the region, outside the valley. They come and make friends. And I think it's partly backing up your mates, and especially in rugby, somebody they really can have your back. They really can get you out of a spot of trouble. I think it's more than that. I think it's about getting on the pitch and making mistakes. And we all make mistakes in whatever sport we try and do. You go on the pitch and you make mistakes, and you're in front of your mates in a pressure situation or whatever, and it's having the backup of your mates to say, come on, you can get back out there, and having this humility to admit your mistakes and apologise for whatever terrible pass you just made or whatever. And that's what builds friendship as well, that humility, I think.
Yeah.
And actually, that brings back to, I was talking about my mate Paul, who's a sports coach. Well, he's talking a lot about humility in terms of being important, a really important part of our tool set, if you like, or just our approach to teaching. You can't afford to be somebody who is the big I am, who never makes a mistake, who's always got it right. And that's in terms of your technical performance as well as in terms of your teaching. We get things wrong all the time. We just have to admit it. Otherwise, we're not going to move on.
Yeah. How does obviously is your son skiing for ski club Val-d'Isere then? Is that?
No, he skis for Lizac, because we live down the valley, so he skis for Lizac.
And how have you found their sort of? I guess you've taken a keen interest in their sort of ski club processes and stuff. Is it how does French ski club coaching look like compared to, say, what an Anglophone approach might be?
You know what? I haven't really seen an Anglophone approach. I don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
There's certainly, and I try not to take too much of an interest in it as well. I try and keep arm's length, because I feel myself often trying to get involved, and I'm not sure it's helpful.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's helpful for me to stick my nose in. So I'm telling him about listening to his coaches. I'm asking what his coaches are on about. And I've never ever contradict what they said, even if I didn't think it was right. I would never contradict it. But I've never had a time when I thought it's not right. And actually, there's no approach. There is no approach. It's one coach to the next. And so he's in the under 14 section. They've got 3 coaches that deal with him. One coach will have a slightly different approach to another coach. And in the under 12s, it was similar as well. They free ski a lot, and they free skied a lot when they were really little. There wasn't a rush into gates. There was quite a big emphasis on doing the free skiing, and actually the pressure comes more from the parents, I think. So less so under 14s, because under 14s that's the time when actually they're starting to race gates more often. There's more races. They need more training and all the rest of it. But at the under 12s and even in under 10s, in the under 10s, the coaches are saying we want to do free skiing, and the parents are saying, hang on, Sam Fly, I've been skiing gates for the past 2 weeks and we've only been free skiing. What's going on? We've got a race in a month. Do you know what I mean? So the pressure is actually coming from the parents, not the coaches. The coaches are wanting to do all the free ski stuff, and the parents are worried about getting left behind. And so there's loads of these dynamics going on that affect the kids and the ski club and how they have an approach to stuff. But they take care of their athletes. They really take care of them. Certainly the Les Arts Ski Club do. But I can't speak for any other ski clubs.
Okay.
Certainly I've seen some at races where the ski clubs, some of the coaches are just shouting and bawling and I thought to myself, I just can't be helpful for this kid.
No.
Like that when he's just about to go and start it. But I think that comes down to individual coaches rather than an approach that's institutionalized from their approach.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, what I mean, we're well into an hour and a half here. So why don't we leave it there? And if people want to find you when they next visit Val-d'Isere to book ski lessons on the beginner slope or in the backcountry or anything in between, where's a good place for them to reach you? Give yourself a plug.
Well, you can find us on our website on tdcski.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. If you put TDC Ski, you'll get us. And
I'll add in a link also to that in the podcast notes so that everyone can find that.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Oh, well, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to have a chat.
Well, mate, I've enjoyed actually speaking to you and remembering those chairlift chats actually, and how it's rare to be able to get somebody to talk about non-skiing issues, or even to be able to link skiing into non-skiing issues.
Yeah.
I think it's not that people don't think deeply enough to do what they want to do, right? But so I remember having those nice chats with you and going, that was a really nice chair, right? I want to ride another chair for Dave next time. I can't move around and talk to other people too.
Well, I think you've got to. But
it's been a pleasure to speak to you again.
A bit of chairlift philosophy has never gone wrong in my opinion, and that's my rule, right? On the chairlift with clients, I never talk about anything other than skiing. Like, that's the rule. You know, we're not talking about just skiing on the lift. We're talking about whatever. I just want to get to know that person, because I just think it's interesting. The amount of interesting stuff that you get out of people is just it's just so, for me, it's like, what do you do? What's your story? I want to know what you're all about. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Where are you from, Dave? Are you like from?
I'm from London originally. I'm from Enfield in North London. But obviously there's no mountains there. So I grew up skiing on the Hemel dry ski slope, which has produced, various amazing skiers. Not me including, but so I grew up there. I went on my first school ski trip when I was 12 to Austria, I think, somewhere, and it kind of never left me after that. Really, I tried to do a bit more, and when they opened up the Milton Keynes dry slope indoor one, that I would be up there quite a bit, and it was kind of carried on from there, really.
Yeah, cool. Oh, mate, it's been a pleasure.
Well,
have you seen the level 4 videos? Have you seen the level 4 level videos?
No. What is this? Is there something new? Are you in it?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Doing what?
Bumps.
Are you? Right, I'm gonna hunt that down and find a link for this.
They're easy. They're on Vimeo. They're on. It's the levels video stuff. It's on the. If you get the BASI app, have you got the BASI app?
No, I haven't. I didn't know you had one.
There's a BASI app and the front of the manual on that.
All right.
There's a BASI app and it's just got the manual online and stuff like that.
It'll be on YouTube somewhere though, won't it? Level 4 bumps kind of... is that a new video? It's not the old one, is it?
No, it's not the old ones. It's like... there were some old ones that were done kind of pretty quickly in Hintertux, 10 years ago by Kurt. Now, these ones are done by a professional photographer. I mean, mate, it was amazing. It was... I can't remember if it was 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Definitely wasn't last year.
Yeah.
It must have been the year before. And we just had this professional photographer follow me and Lynn, who you said you spoke to Lynn.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'll have a look for those.
And then being followed around by a professional photographer trying to do the strands, basically ski the strands for a week. And it snowed at the start of the week. Yeah. And then was sunny for the rest of the week. We just had an epic week.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, nice work if you can get it, but I'm going to... All right, I'm going to go and hunt those down, and I'll put your bump skiing video in the show notes so that everyone can see that. Everyone can see your genius.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, but the funny thing to that, right? Lynn, Lynn's kind of ex-team-ish, young.
Yeah, pretty useful, right? Yeah,
really, really handy piece skier, decent bump skier as well.
Yeah,
but it kind of dawned on us as we were doing the Oh, it dawned on me as we were doing this week. I'm like, well, they've invited me to do this week to get this stuff on here. You know, I'm okay on the piece. I enjoy my piece. I like it.
Yeah.
Why have they invited me? And it kind of dawned on me that I am the Bunsen. They brought me from a Bunsen variable, so I started calling myself the Bunsen variables guy. So, you know, that's my role. That's what I'm there for. And then so Lynn was kind of like, all right, so I'm the peak performance person. All right, I get it.
It's not a bad tag to get yourself, is it?
No, it's pretty good.
I'm the Bunsen variables.
I'll see if I can find a link. I'll send it through to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mate, it's been a pleasure.